For many years, scholars and critics claimed that David never existed. For them, the greatest king in biblical history was nothing more than an Israelite national myth, a figure invented centuries later to justify the identity of a people. The Bible said one thing. Science, apparently, said another. Until, in 1993, an unexpected discovery changed everything. A broken stone buried for 2,800 years brought to light 3 words that silenced the academic world. 3 words that proved a biblical text written 1,000 years earlier. 3 words that changed biblical archaeology forever. But to understand the impact of this discovery, we need to go back in time. For decades, a group of scholars called minimalists claimed that almost all biblical history prior to the 8th century BC was invention. They said there was no archaeological proof of Saul, David, or Solomon, and since no inscription mentioned David, they concluded that he never existed. Entire books were published to prove this. University courses were built on this thesis, and many Christians began to doubt the Bible itself. Until in northern Israel, near the ruins of the ancient city of Tel Dan, something began to emerge from the earth. During an excavation led by archaeologists Avraham Biran and Joseph Nava, a volunteer found a black stone with inscriptions in ancient Aramaic. The stone was broken into pieces, remnants of a monument erected by an enemy king of Israel. And when the experts began to translate the lines, the surprise came. The text read, "I killed the king of Israel and the king of the house of David." This was the first time in history that archaeology had found, outside of the Bible, the expression "house of David" written by an enemy, not an Israelite. This was huge. Why? Because in archaeology, when the enemy confirms the existence of your king, the discussion ends. The term House of David in the custom of the ancient Near East means royal dynasty founded by David. It's the same term used for House of Omri, House of Jehu, and House of Ahab. In other words, in the 9th century BC, about 150 years after David, foreign kings recognized his dynasty as legitimate, royal, and powerful. This completely destroyed the thesis that David was a literary myth. But the stone brought even more revelations. Archaeologists identified that the inscription was probably written by Hazael, king of Syria, the same enemy mentioned in 2 Kings 8 and 9. In other words, the Tel Dan Stele not only mentions the house of David, it aligns with events and enemies mentioned in the biblical books. Therefore, this discovery has even led critics to admit David existed, the Davidic dynasty existed, and it was recognized by surrounding nations. And here we enter another layer, the theological one. The Bible repeatedly states that God made an eternal covenant with David, a promise. From your house will come one who will reign forever. The house of David was not just a political lineage, it was a prophetic line. It aligns with events and enemies mentioned in the biblical books. Therefore, this discovery has even led critics to admit David existed, the Davidic dynasty existed, and it was recognized by surrounding nations. And here we enter another layer, the theological one. The Bible repeatedly states that God made an eternal covenant with David, a promise. From your house will come one who will reign forever. The house of David was not just a political lineage, it was a prophetic line. That there were kings, wars, alliances, and dynasties exactly as the scriptures describe. And this is where things get even deeper. Even today, many claim that the Bible is unreliable, that it is a symbolic, poetic, mythological book. But every time the soil of the Middle East is disturbed, every time archaeologists find something new, another piece of the Bible is confirmed. The Tel Dan Stele is just one of hundreds of discoveries that prove that biblical texts are not legends, but records of a true story, written by real people, living through real events. And all of this, preserved for 2,000 years, and today, confirmed by science. The Bible doesn't need archaeology to be true, but when archaeology speaks, it echoes what the scriptures already said long before. The stele that was buried in the earth for almost 3 millennia wasn't there by chance. It waited for the right moment to appear, and when it did, it made it clear. The history of faith wasn't built on legends, it was built on facts. And if this truth strengthened your faith today, get ready, because there are other discoveries that are even more impressive, and you'll see them all here, in the Book of the Wise.